This is the membership website that we're going to be designing in this tutorial, step by step. So this is the main hero area here, and I show you how to increase contrast between the background image and the foreground text. Further down here, we have our features area, and then finally, we have our testimonial. And by the way, this website is 100% fluid and responsive. All right, so let's say someone wants to become a member. So if they click here on become a member, they're going to get these two options. So the first option is free membership, where they get access to blog posts. And then over here, they get access to the blog posts, premium videos, weekly calls, video templates, and so on. So if someone was to click here on join now, they're going to get this page where they'll be asked to make a payment. And sure enough, if they click on buy now, it takes them onto this page, the checkout page. They'll make a payment using PayPal or Stripe. After every single person logs in, they're going to be redirected to this dashboard. Now, this dashboard is very important because it links them to where the content is. So in this case, let's say they want to go to the free content. This is where they'll click. If they want some downloads, they'll click here on downloads, and then this will take them to the downloads page. Now, what is also cool here is if you come over here to user, there's a quick access to the account, because sometimes a user may want to see their purchase history, so they'll click over here. And if they have any downloads, they'll click here on the downloads. And if they wanted to update their profile, they would come over here on the profile. Now, by default, WordPress does not have a good design, well-designed landing page. So in this case, if someone was to come to the website here and they click on login, it takes them to this beautiful login page, which I will show you how to design from scratch. And this is where they'll add the username and password. And after they add their information, they will be redirected to that downloads page. Now, I'm also going to show you how to protect your pages from those members that are not VIP members or full members. For example, you can see all your pages here that have the membership by this lock right here. So I'll show you how to have that on the page. So if I were to view this page right now, you can see that I can see all the content. And if this was protected content, I can play the video, I can read all the content over here. But if I try to access the same page as a non-member, I would get this error page. And I'll show you exactly how to create this error page, where once they read the error message here, they can click on become a member, and then it takes them to the membership page to become a member. So this is a very powerful way of creating membership websites, and it's tag-based. And I show you all the tools that you need to know on how to build this website. Now, if you're a freelance designer or you're a design agency, these are the type of websites that you can create that will make you a lot of money because they solve a specific problem. Now, the method that I'm showing you here is what I use on my own website on Divi University, and it is expandable. With these plugins, you can use this and expand the way you protect your website in endless ways, because there's a lot of integrations with other plugins and so on. Let's dive in and let me show you how to build this membership website from scratch. Now, before we start building our website, we need to choose the right hosting. And there are so many companies out there to choose from. But the company that I highly recommend is Hostinger, because their servers are fast, very reliable, and also very, very affordable. So let's take a look at the pricing. So if you use the link that I've included in the video description below, it will give you 75% off and sometimes 79%. So let's take a look here when you click on Start Now. And by the way, I'll include the link to the discount in the video description below. All right, so as you can see here, we have this 79% off, and this is on the business plan. And I highly recommend the business plan because here you get to host up to 50 websites. So as you can imagine, if you want to design websites for small businesses, you could actually make a lot of money. So this is definitely ideal for being a freelancer or even a design agency to a degree. All right, so what we're going to do now is to click on Choose Plan. Okay, and by the way, like I said, it has a 79% discount, but of course you can go with whatever plan you want. Now, this is where you decide the period that you want to host your website for. So by default, it's set to 48 months. And as you can see, the subtotal here is 191. So in some cases, this may be a bit too much for you. So what you want to do is to click on this drop down, and you have other options. So you can bring it down to maybe 24 months, which is 2 years for $107. Now, it may seem like a lot of money, but if you design one website for a client, you can make all your money back because the minimum you can charge for a website is, if you want to go on the cheaper side, is at least $500 for just one website. And then you have 49 other websites to create. But if you're on a really tight budget, you can go for 12 months. And I don't recommend you go below the 12 months because, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous because only 1 month, it doesn't really make sense. So 12 months would be ideal, and it goes down to $59.88. Okay, so once we've selected our period here, we can go ahead and click on continue. But before I do that, I want to show you that here you're saving $168 using my affiliate link. Next, I'm going to hit continue. So this now takes us to the page where we get to enter all our information. So as you can see here, it's asking for my first name, last name, blah, 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 my address, and so on. Now, if you have a company, you can add your company details here. So you add your company name and your VAT numbers. Now, I'm in the UK. That is why it's asking for the GB VAT. Okay. The next part here is to click on continue. And this now takes you to the page where you're about to make your payment. And there's so many payment options. So you have PayPal. You can even pay using your credit card here if you want to. And then there's PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and all these other ones if you need to use those. Okay, so now if you finish paying for your hosting, you also get a free domain name. And a domain name is very important because that's the URL that you give your clients. Like in my case, I have a website called diviuniversity.com. So every time someone types in diviuniversity.com, they can land on my website, and that is the domain that you need. All right, so let's say you've gone through the whole process. You're going to get an email with your login details to your admin dashboard. So right now I'm in my admin dashboard, and you can see right here at the top, it's asking me to claim my free domain. I haven't done that yet, but it's always a very good reminder that, you have a domain that you can claim. So what I'm going to do next is to create a brand new website. So I'm going to come over here to websites. So this is where we get to create our websites. As you can see here, I have, a few websites here. So to add our website, I'm going to come over here to websites, and I want to go to the list here. And this is where my 3 temporary domains are. So to add a new website, you want to click here on add website. And our website is going to be WordPress. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. Okay, so this is where, and this is very important, by the way, you want to go in and add your admin password. But this admin password is for your WordPress website. So I'm going to go ahead and enter it. And then on the bottom here, I'm going to click on next. And now, in fact, I don't need to save this password here. So the next part here is we have 2 options, either to create our website with AI, and we're not going to do that. And we also have pre-built websites and themes. Now, we're not going to do that either. We're going to build our website from scratch. So I'm going to click here on create blank website. Okay, so for the domain name, this is where if I claim that domain name, I can enter it here, but I want to use a temporary domain because I can always connect the two later on. Or even if you have a domain name bought from a different service, you can always connect it later. So for now, we're going to use a temporary domain. I'm going to click on that. And the good thing about the temporary domain as well is if you're building a website for a client, you can give them that temporary domain so that they can at least see the progress that is happening on that website that you're building for them. So it is really, really good. And then when the website is complete, you can then give them full access to that website. Okay, so now our WordPress website has been built and we are ready to go. And as you can see here, it says temporary domain. And if you do want to change it, this is where you'd come in and change that domain. But like I said, we're not going to change it right away. Okay, so back over here, the next thing we need to do is to install our page builder. Now, there's few page builders out there. There's Elementor, there's Bricks Builder, there's Edge. But in this example, I'm going to use Divi because I've created a design system that makes the building of this website very, very easy. All right, so let's go ahead and install Divi. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and downloaded Divi. I'm also going to add a link to purchase Divi in the video description below. And this is a very, very good page builder. I've been using this for more than 10 years now, and it has improved. In fact, we're going to be using Divi 5 right now to build our website. So once you log into your members area, you want to click on download Divi 5 beta. Okay, so you can see I've downloaded it there. Now I can go to my website and start building. So the next step now is to add our page builder onto our website. So I'm going to come over here to appearance, click on themes, and then I'm going to add my theme. Next, I'm going to click upload because remember, we downloaded the theme. So now we need to upload it onto our website. So I'm going to click here on choose file, and it's in my downloads folder, and it is right here. So I'm going to double click on it and then click on install now. So this is now going to install Divi 5, the page builder. All right, fantastic. Next, I'm going to go ahead and click on activate. So here is where you need to go in and activate your license, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. The next step now is to create the pages that we need. So I'm going to come over here to pages and then click on add page. So we're going to start with the home page and then the contact page, the membership page, and the error page, because those are the main sort of pages that we need. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll do the first two just to show you how it's done, and then I will pause the video so you can go ahead and create the rest. So my first one here is going to be home, and then I'm just going to say use Divi Builder and then publish it. So over here now on the top right, I'm going to hit publish, and now the page has been published. The next thing I usually do is, because I have to click the black button here over and over again, I come over here now to my builder settings and scroll down until I find enable admin bar. This just makes it easier for me to just navigate away from my site or even add new pages. Now you see we have this admin bar. I'm able now to go in and just click on add page, and then I'll add my other page. So this one here is going to be contacts, and then I'm going to say use Divi Builder. And then just like before, I'm going to go ahead and publish it. So go ahead and continue on and build the other pages. And once you are done with all the pages, I'll show you the whole list and then we continue from there. So I've gone ahead and created all my pages. Now it's time to have a look at all the pages. So to do that, we need to exit out of the builder interface here by clicking on exit. Now let's go back to WordPress, and these are all my pages. So we have the contact page, which is ideal for anyone to contact us if they need to. We have the dashboard, which is the main landing page which people get to when they log on to the website. We also have an error page just in case someone is trying to access information that they don't have the permissions to access. So in this case, we're going to have a paid membership and a free membership. So if they try to access content that is on a paid membership, they're going to get the error message, and that will be displayed here. We also have a membership page which compares the two memberships. And then we also have the home page, which will be our main landing page. All right, so what we need to do now is to just do a quick preview and see what this website looks like so far. And as you can see here, we have our menu here, but it's all, it's all jumbled up. It doesn't have the right order of where everything needs to be. So this is where we need to go in and create a menu. So I'm going to come over here to appearance and then go to menus. So right now, as you can see, we don't have a menu, so we need to create a brand new one. So I'm just going to call this menu. And I'm going to assign this to the primary menu, which is the main menu on our website. So I'm going to say create menu. For some reason, menu on its own wasn't working. So I changed the name to Mac menu, and it seems like this is fine now. So I'm just going to hit save. And then I'm going to come over here now and say view all. So all I need to do now is to select all these and add them onto the menu, because we want to be able to control this menu that we have here on the top. And in order for us to control it, we have to add everything to the menu like that. Okay, so far you can see that there are two homes. I've got the home here that has Divi on it. That's the one we created, remember? So what we need to do in order for us not to have a duplicate is to get rid of the custom link one. So I'm going to go in and remove it. Okay. So now we have home contact. So contact needs to be all the way at the end. And we also have this error membership dashboard. So I think dashboard should come over here. And this error now it's not supposed to be really on the menu because it only should show up when someone tries to go on the wrong membership. Okay, and even the dashboard really, but I'll leave the dashboard as it is. Now, if there are any pages that I need to add on later on, I will just come in and rearrange everything. So I'm going to go ahead now and hit save. Now, when I go to my page and refresh, you're going to notice that we now have our custom menu. Okay, fantastic. The next step now is to make sure that our home page is going to be the landing page, because currently, if I refresh here, you'll notice that this page that we see by default is going to be our blog page. So if I click here, it goes to our blog post, okay? But we don't want that. We want that when we go to our home page, we are actually landing on the actual home page, but we have to assign it, because if you look closely here at the top, we're able to go to home because that is the home page that we created, but as a default, it defaults to a blog page. So let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to come over here. And to do that, we're going to come over here to settings and reading. Okay. So now we want to set our static page, because as you can see, our current home displays our latest posts, which is our blog post, but we want to add a home page. There we go. Excellent. So now we have our home page. I'm going to go ahead and hit save changes. And now pretty much we are good to go. If I come over here and I refresh this, we're going to have a blank home page. Oops. Let's go ahead and save this one more time. I think I may have not saved this. Okay, so now if we take a look at our website, it now has a blank homepage. So far, so good. The next step now is to take a look at our plugins, because there's several plugins that I would like to have on this website in order for our membership website to work. So we're going to come over here to plugins and then click on install plugins. So there's quite a few plugins that are installed by default with Hostinger. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not using these right now, I'm going to go in and deactivate all of these. Okay, hit apply, and then I'll activate them when I need them later on. Next, I'm going to hit add plugin. So the plugin that I need here is called Fluent Auth. It's a free plugin, but it is fantastic. It's a security plugin, and it also manages our redirection on the website. So I'm going to click on install now, and then I want to activate. Excellent. So now that I have Fluent Auth, I'm going to go in and customize our website. So I'm going to go into my Fluent Auth settings. Okay. So on the settings here, normally what I do is I apply recommended settings. The reason why I do that is because, as you can see, this is for our core security settings. I mean, of course, I'm not a developer, so I probably won't know a lot of these, but I know that what I'm doing here is the best for my website. But what I do know is over here on the login security settings, if someone tries 5 times, they'll be locked out for 30 minutes. Now, this is very important because there are situations where you get bots that try to, it's called brute force attack. They try to guess your password. So if they do it 5 times, then they're locked out. So that just keeps your website secure. Okay, magic login. Now, this works if, let's say, you don't want to use your username password. You just activate magic login, and then you go to your website, you get a specific login URL, and then you log on to your website. This one here is two-factor authentication, which is also very good to make your website very, very secure. And then once you do that, you can just go ahead now and hit save. Okay, so here you can also disable the admin bar for your users, which are your subscribers. Okay, so the next thing I want to do here is to come over here to my login and sign up forms. Okay, so over here, we're going to enable social login. And this is fantastic because sometimes people forget their username and passwords. So the ideal situation here is to activate a login with Google. Now we need to add these to our WP config file, which I'll show you in a moment because we need to access this through the server. Okay. And if you want to activate Facebook, you can also go in and enable Facebook. Okay. But normally for me, I just use the Google one and pretty much that's it. Most people have Google accounts anyway. Next, I'm going to activate this, and this is going to open up our page customizer because I want my login page to at least have some sort of a design on it. So I'm going to open now my page customizer here. So this is the login that we're going to get, and we can pretty much go in and customize the banner here. So I'm going to click on this little pencil icon, and this welcome message. I'm just going to call this Mac membership. But of course, you may have a very creative name for your membership websites. And this is going to be my description for my membership. Now, I can also add a background image. So I'm going to go in, and I have a few images here that I can add in the background. So let's go with this one here. There we go. I'm going to hit Save Changes. But in fact, before I do that, I noticed that my text here is not easy to read. So this is where I can go in and change my title color to just a color that makes it easier to read. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. And then I can also go in and add my text color. Now, it's up to you, to have this text color or not. In some cases, it may be that you do not want to add all this text on here, but if you want to keep it plain, you can just remove the text altogether and just leave the image, since everyone knows that this is a login page. So now that keeps it very, very clean. And then all I have now is log into, my website name over here. So I'm going to go back, and here is where we can go in and customize our form. So again, I'll click on this pencil icon, and then here I can say log into, let's call this Mac membership. I think that makes it much easier to read because it takes the name for our website by default. All right, so I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead now and save changes. The next tab that I want to take a look at is over here on the login redirects. Now, this is very, very, very important. You want that when someone logs in, they are directed to a specific page. So remember, we created the dashboard page. So let's head over here and take a look at it. I know there's nothing on it, but I'm going to open this in a new tab, and we just want to get the URL for this page. So I'm going to say view, and as you can see, it's blank. I'm going to go in like that, copy that complete URL, and then I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to say default all login URL is going to be this. Okay. So I want that when someone logs in, they're redirected to our dashboard page. Now, there's also other rules that we can add over here. Like, for example, the user role. If the user is, we select it over here, say subscriber, then they can redirect to a specific page and so on. But we don't need to do that because we want our default login URL to go to the dashboard, and that's it. And then when they log out, I usually leave that as it is. So I'm going to hit Save Settings. So I think we're done here. I'm going to hit Save Settings. So now, instead of having, that default login page that we get with WordPress, which is, by the way, not very professional, we now have a really nice landing page for our login. So what I'm going to do now is to show you this in an incognito mode or incognito window. So at least we see what it looks like for someone who's not logged in. So right now I have the name of the website. Okay. So if someone wants to log into the membership, they would type in or maybe click on wp-admin like this. Okay. So I'm going to copy this because I'm going to add a custom URL on our website, by the way. So now that I have this, I'm going to hit enter, and then you're going to see that we have this beautiful login page, which, pretty much looks way much better than what we get with our default WordPress. Okay. So now that we have our login, we have our redirect, we are pretty much ready to move to the next step. So let's go back to Appearance, Menus. So on the menus here, we want to create a custom link. So I'm going to come over here and paste my URL, which has my wp-admin here. And then the link text is going to be login. I'm going to add this to the menu. Okay. So now we have a login link, or we can even have it as a button if we needed to. Okay. So I'm just going to leave it as it is, as a link, hit save menu. All right. So we're good to go. Now, the next step is to install our plugin, which is called Fluent CRM. Now, every membership website is going to need some sort of way to automate your emails, send emails, and so on and so forth, because that's the only way you can really communicate with your subscribers or your members. And there are several options that you can choose out there. You can choose ConvertKit, MailChimp, and so on, but those tend to be a bit more expensive. Now, For my own website, Div University, I use Fluent CRM. I've been using it for over 5 years now, and it does a fantastic job. I really automate everything using tags. So let's go ahead and install Fluent CRM. So I'm going to come over here to plugins and then click on add plugin. So I'm going to search for it. So there's two versions. There's the free version and there's also a paid version. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on install now. And as you can see here, it's been installed on 70,000 websites and 212 5 stars. It is very, very good. All right, so I'm going to click on activate to activate Fluent CRM. So I might as well go in and add my tags because this is where you need to start thinking about your membership. Okay, so we're going to come over here to Fluent CRM and then go to the dashboard. Now, I know it's going to ask me to go through this setup wizard. I'm just going to say not right now because I pretty much know how to use this and how to get started. All right, so what we want to do now is to come over here to contacts, just hover over contacts and go to tags. So you want to have a free membership, okay? So let's create a tag for free membership. So I'm going to come over here and say member, okay? But we know it's a free member, okay? So you can go in and add your description here. So I'm going to say free membership, and then for the other one, I'm going to call it a VIP membership, okay? So these are going to be our two tags. I'm going to come over here, and this one now is going to be VIP membership. All right, so I've got my two tags. Now, these tags are very important because they are going to control the access to all the content on our website. And also, when we send emails out, we can send emails specifically for VIP members based on these two tags that we've just created. And that is how powerful this is. Okay, so now that we have these two, let's head over now and add another plugin. Now, this plugin that we're going to add is called WP Fusion. Now, it's not really a membership plugin. It does way more than what a membership plugin does. And this is why, it has this, price tag. This is a $297, per license. But it can do so much. It integrates with so many plugins, and it's there just to automate your complete website using this tag system. And this is a unique approach because I don't think there's any other product out there that does what Fluent WP Fusion does. And I actually use this on my own website because for me to have access to give access to certain members after they purchase the product, I do it by the tag. So let's say I create a brand new product and this product is called Crafter. And after purchasing, I want to, let's say, give access to people that have purchased that specifically. I have a tag called Crafter, and the access to the downloads is given through just the tag. And I'll show you, it's very, very exciting to use this product. So I'm going to go in now and install it. So I'm going to come over here and let's go back to plugins and then click on add plugin. I'm going to search for it. In fact, I'm going to upload it because it's downloaded. Choose file. And here it is. This is the latest version. I'll double click on that and then install now. I'm going to activate the plugin. And all I have to do now is to go to the WP Fusion's settings page. And in this case, I need to select my CRM, which is in this case, Fluent CRM. There we go. Fluent CRM on this side. Okay. Next is asking to connect. So I'm going to click on connect. Brilliant. Now I have to add my license key here to get my automatic updates. I will add my license key in a moment. And then so far, I'm going to hit save changes. Okay, so and now that everything has been saved, we also need to come over here to general settings and assign our tags. So we want that when someone goes on our website and signs up for the free membership, they get a tag assigned straight away. Okay, so we're going to come over here and say member is the tag that needs to be applied when someone creates a contact in Fluent, when a contact is created in Fluent CRM. We don't need to assign to lists here. That should be fine. And we're also going to create our page, which is our Remember that page we created, the error page? This is where we need to connect it. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter it here. So as you can see, it says default not logged in redirect. We're not going to add it here, but our generic redirect needs to come here. So back over here on my site, I think I called the page error. Let's just confirm that. And sure enough, okay, it's called error. I'm going to copy that URL. And then I'm going to come over here. This is going to be our default generic link that people go to when they don't have access, rather than have this one right here. Okay, excellent. Next, I want to say save changes. Okay, so I think we're done here. We've set up everything that we need. The next step now is to install one more thing. And this is design system, which will make it very, very easy for us to go in and build our website. All right, so this is specific to Divi alone. So I'm going to come over here and go to Divi library. Click on import, and then I'm going to go in and click on this import tab. Now, when you purchase this product, you are going to get a zipped file. So I'm going to go in and show you the zipped file. It's in my downloads here, and here it is. It's called Crafter. Okay, so what you want to do is to double click on it. It's going to open up, and you're going to have this JSON file. Okay, now if you purchase WP Fusion or the hosting, you're going to get this design system absolutely free. You just let me know that you've done so, and I'll give you this design system. It costs $77 at the moment. Okay, so now I can click on choose file and locate the file now in my downloads folder, which is right here. So I'm going to double click the .json file. It's very important. It's the .json file that we need here. Okay, I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to click on import presets, and then I'm going to go ahead and import Divi Builder layouts. It's very, very important that we do this, because you will see in a moment why it's going to help us build our website super, super fast. Okay, so it looks like everything has been imported. The next thing I want to do is to just create a brand new page. So I'm going to say add page, and I'm going to call this page Crafter. And then I'm going to say use Divi Builder. Now, the reason why I'm creating this page is because it allows me to see all my changes that I'm doing to my design system. So I'm going to click here. And remember, I saved everything in the library. So I'm going to come over here to saved layout. And here it is. So I'm going to click once to select it. And then I want to say use this layout. Now, by default, Divi has specific sizes. So as you can see, all these are pre-designed for us. They are fluid, and also they are very, very responsive, which means we're not going to waste too much time trying to make things responsive and so on and so forth. This is going to be the best way to design our website. You can see we have our error messages here. We have pretty much everything that we need. So I know I'm going to need an error, which is this one here, right? So I'm going to click on it like that, and then I'm going to save this to the library. Okay, so I'm going to go in and say save to library. Okay, so this is going to be my warning. So that, yeah, that's my warning. I don't like using caps when I'm adding these. It just makes it easier. I mean, this way. So it's asking me for the categories here. I'm going to create a brand new category just to arrange everything, much, much easier. So I'm going to call this category components like that. And yeah, I might as well add the tag. Okay, I think I have everything that I need. In fact, let's just call this notices. Okay, how about that? New category notices. Okay, and then this will be notice. All right. Now, this is my warning. I'm going to save this to the library. So you want to do this to the rest of these notices, okay? So you have the warning, the success, and so on. All right. So now that I have this, you can see here, I have pretty much all my content widths and everything that I need in order for me to start designing. So at this stage, you want to make sure that you set your fonts, okay? So I'm going to come over here to my variable manager, and then I'm going to go to fonts. So the very first font is going to be my headings. Now, I want you to take a note of these headings here, because they are going to change based on what I choose here. So I'm going to say Poppins, and that's going to be my heading, okay? For my body text, I'm going to use Inter as my normal body text. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Then I'm going to say save. Apply changes. So now that I've applied and saved this, I'm going to close out of here, publish this page. And for me to see my changes, I have to refresh this page. There we go. So now you can see we have the right fonts. Okay, the next step now is the colors. We need to brand our website, make it look really, really awesome with our color system. So I'm going to come over here and go to coolers.co. So this is where I get to choose colors that work well together. So if you take a look here, you're going to notice that our colors here are pretty much the same. For our buttons, we have our primary and second color that looks the same. Now, I may be saying this because, of course, I know they're the same, but let me show you where they are. So I'm going to go to colors, okay? So with this open here, you can see your primary color here is this blue, and my secondary color here is this blue. But it may be that you want your website to be totally different in terms of the color systems that you use. So I'm going to come over here and choose the colors for my membership. So the first color I'm going to look for is my primary color. So, okay, let's lock this. I might want to use that as my primary color. And I also have this tan. I kind of like these colors here, these two colors. I think they work well together. But in your case, you want to keep, cycling through these. I think it's AI that uses this to choose colors that work well together. So in my case here, I think I've got the two colors that I want. So I'm going to click on this button here to choose my hexadecimal value, which I'll then come over here to my primary color and paste. Now, it's important that when you paste the color, you hit enter. And now you can see even the background here has updated, okay? Next is our secondary color. So I'm going to come over here, copy the color, and then back over here, I'm going to paste it, hit enter. And I know everything has changed now. My button colors have updated. You can see there, my button colors have updated, and we are good to go. Now, this design system also comes with all these shades of these colors, which is also fantastic. Now, what I can do, if I need to make a little bit of an adjustment, I can come over here, slide this over, to the right. If I need to, just make it a bit brighter. Okay. And then I can hit enter, save, apply changes. So at any point, if you want to change your colors, you can always go to the variable manager and change your colors. Now, did you see how easy it was for me to just go in and update those colors, change those colors quickly, and, start moving forward? Okay, so we have our fonts, we have our colors. It's time now to design our homepage. So we're going to exit out of here by clicking here on this exit button, and then we're going to search for our homepage. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to click on Edit with Divi. So I already have an idea of how this needs to look. So I'm going to go into my section settings here and add a background image. So I'm going to come over here and go to background image. I'm going to click on this plus button and then upload files from my computer. So I'm going to click here on select files, because this is where I can head over to my downloads folder and select all my images that I need. So I also need these two up here. In fact, I'm going to hold the command key. It makes it easier to select all the images that I need. Now, I got these images from a website called Unsplash because they are royalty-free images, but in your case, you can have your own images that you may need to use. Okay, so I want to say open. Now you can see all my images now have been added onto my website. So the next step now is to choose the image that I need for my main landing page. So I'm going to go ahead and say upload image. All right, so while we're here, the next thing I need to do is to make sure that this image fills up the whole screen. So what you want to do now is to come over here to assign presets. And the preset that we need is over here. It says section full. Now you can see now it has made this thing full screen. Now this is why, and I'm going to continue on repeating this. It makes my design process very, very easy because I'm using presets. Otherwise, I would have to come over here to design, and then I go to sizing, and then on the sizing here, I would go in and then start adding 100 VH. So I'm just using this preset, which says section full. Okay, so with that preset selected, the next thing I need to do is to come over here to layout and just make sure that my content that I'm going to add is centered. So now you can see everything is centered. Okay, so let's go ahead and add another, or rather, an equal column. And in this column, I'm going to add some text. In fact, I need a heading, okay? So here it is. I'm going to add my heading module, and then I'm going to hover over here, go to my plus button here, and then I'm also going to add a text module. Excellent. So I have these two modules here, and I'm going to give this a title. But before I do that, I can see here that I may need to add some contrast to my image here, to my text, by dimming this image. It's too bright. So I'm going to click here on my section settings, go to my background, and then I'm going to add a background color over here. The color I'm going to add is black. So I'm going to drag this all the way down here to black. Next, I'm going to come over here to my image, and I'm going to change the blending mode. Now, the blending mode allows me to adjust the color on the foreground onto the image. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to scroll down here, go to blending mode, and change this to multiply. Okay, so now you see everything has gone pretty much dark. The final step now is to come over here to background image. I want to click anywhere in here and then just drag this slider down to reveal the image in the background. So you can choose what works for you here. So I'm going to go with maybe 60. So at least I can see what is happening in the background and also my text. So what I need to do next here is to click here on my module settings for my text, and I need a large heading, okay? So I'm going to come over here to design, and on my heading text here, I'm going to click on this little icon and then go for large, okay? So you see my text now has gone large, but of course we can't still read it. So the next step now is to change the color. So I'm going to first of all center it, and then for my color, I am going to click here on this little icon, and now you see all my colors. Now, this is what makes this design system much, much easier to use. I'm going to go with my gray 50 here, which is very close to white. And I'm also going to come over here to my paragraph text, select this, and then I'm going to hover over here on the text, click on my presets, and then I'm going to choose here body text large. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that looks great. And I'm also going to need to center it. So I'm going to come over here, scroll down, center it. And I also need to change the color. So I'm going to click over here and choose gray 50. Now, while I'm here, it's also very important to note that all my text size here are already selected using the preset. So you don't need to go in and say, oh, you know what? I need to add 40 pixels or 30 pixels. No, everything is done for me. So even if I come over here, you'll see everything is responding based on the screen size. And this is all automatic, which is fantastic. So with this now, I also need to add my call to action buttons. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and add a group, because I need to add 2 buttons in here. So I'm going to go ahead now and choose my first button and duplicate it. Next, I need my buttons side to side. So what I need to do now is to click here on my group settings, okay? And then I'm going to change the layout over here on the design tab. And by default, this is set to column direction. So we want this to be row. And that's how my buttons are going to be aligned side by side. So take a look to see what happens when I choose this direction. Now they're side by side, which is fantastic. The next thing now, I want them dead on center. So I'm going to come over here and choose center. So now I have my buttons. They're both centered. Now, if I need to adjust the space between them, I can always come over here and I'm going to say gap large, or I can say gap medium. Okay, so now they're slightly closer. Now, the reason why I'm using these presets is because I want to make sure that when my site gets smaller on screen sizes, my button spacing is always going to be perfect. Okay, the next step I'm going to do now is to make sure that everything here is aligned properly. But before I do that, let me just go ahead and add my button presets. So I'm going to select my first button here. come over here to the top, and then I'm going to choose my button primary light. Let me see what that looks like. Yes, I think this looks much better on my dark background. Okay, and then on the next one here, I'm going to go ahead and select the button, and this is going to be my secondary button light. So let's look for secondary button. Here it is. Okay, so now I have my two buttons there. I can now give them, the text that I need to add to here. So I'm going to go in on the first one and go to content. So here I'm going to say, become a member. And then on this button here, I'm going to say, explore more or something like that. Okay, so my two buttons are all set. The next thing now is to go in here and just make sure everything is aligned correctly. So I'm going to select my rows. And then over here on the elements, I'm going to go into my column because this is where all my settings are. So with my column selected, I'm going to go to design. And then over here on the layout, I'm going to make sure my gap is set to 0. I want to remove all spacing between all my elements and then add it all in manually. So to do that, I'm going to first select my group settings here, go to my spacing, and I want my margin top to be, let's try extra large, okay? I think that works great. And then I'm going to come over here to the paragraph. And then for my margin top again, I'll come over here to the sizing. Oops, not sizing. Let's select it. Okay, so it's spacing. And I'm going to go medium. Okay, brilliant. So now my paragraph text is closer to my main heading text here. And then my space here is just pretty much laid out correctly. So the reason why I like this is because when I view this in a smaller screen, my spacing between my elements is going to be pretty much, responsive and fluid. Okay, so even if I go here, my buttons here have changed size. You can see that my text has changed size. And this is pretty much why we are using this design system. Okay, so with this now, I just need to add the proper text that needs to go in here and the description as well. Okay, so I've added my title here to what this membership is about. I may also want to add another, text here on the top, just like an intro to my actual landing page. So I'm going to set it up as a text module like that. And I'm just going to drag it all the way to the top like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to say become a member or join the membership. In fact, I decided to say join 200 members. I'm going to center this. And then when it comes to the text itself, I'm going to come over here and then go to text and choose label. Okay, so that makes it all caps and slightly small. And then finally, I also need to go in and change the color. So I'm going to come over here and change the color because right now the color that I have, in fact, you know what? Let's use this instead. Okay, so now that I've added all this, I may also want to add some spacing here. So I'm going to go to spacing and I'll perhaps maybe go with margin top. Let's try medium. Yeah, I think medium works fine. So that's perfect. The final thing now is you can see that this row is a bit too wide, right? So I also have a preset here for my wide text row, just to bring things, down a little bit. Now, I think this works, much better. But if you feel that this is not working well for you and you want to go for a content row, you can just do that and then, just go with the content row. But I don't like this because the text here is way too wide. That is why I prefer using the wide text row. Okay. All right. So that's our main heading or our main hero design. The next step now is to go in and design our next section. So I'm going to click here and I'm also going to start with the text that sort of like gives an idea to what this section is about. So I'm going to start off with a text module. In fact, I'm going to need 2. So I'm going to duplicate this and then I'm going to go in and just talk about the features here. I'm going to center it and also going to set this up as a label. So I'm going to go to text and then set this up as a label because that makes it much, much easier to have things that look, related throughout the whole page. Now over here, I can either In fact, you know what? Why don't you go with a heading? I think heading is better. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and select heading. Okay. And then over here, I'm just going to go in and center it. Now I know it's set to heading 1. Ideally, I want this set to heading 3. And then I'm going to come over here for the preset itself and select this. Okay. So far so good. I like how that looks like. And then I'm going to go into my row settings here and make sure I choose my actual row. And this is a text row. Okay. I know it doesn't make a change here, but it updates it really well. I'm also going to add another row. Okay. Now in this row, I'm going to add some blurbs, and these are going to be my features. So let's go ahead and design a blurb quickly. So for this, I know I'm going to need, some text. So I want to paste some dummy text like that. And then for the heading, let me just grab a bit of text from here and paste it in here. Okay. Now, I'm only doing this because I want this process of designing this, to be much faster. The next thing I'm going to do is to change this image here into an icon. So let's go ahead and do that by coming over here to image and icon. And I'm going to activate icon. And then the icon I need is perhaps something to do with video. And I'm going to go with this one. Now, what I need to do next is to come over here to the design tab, because first of all, I need to make sure I've got the right size. So I'm going to go in here, and for my width, I'm going to click here because I have all these sizes, set here already. So I'm just going to go with the size that I think works great. So I'm going to go with, okay, text M is a bit too much. So let's go with XL. Okay, let's try, 3XL. Okay. Next, we are going to go into the title text. And for my title text, I'd rather have it set to H5 and then set the preset to H5. Okay, now we have the body text. So for the body text, I'm going to come over here. Again, I'm going to go in and set this to body text small. And I believe that that size is much, much better. All right, so finally, I just need to go in and center this. So I'm going to come over here and all my text is centered. The next thing I want to do is to give this, some breathing space around it, because I want to add a very light color behind these features. So I'm going to click here and go into my spacing. And this time I need padding. So I'm going to go with padding small. I know we can't see it right now, but the padding is actually white on a white background. So I need to change the color. Now, do you see how these presets are working in this design flow? And this is what makes the designing of websites super fast. Okay, so let's head over now to our content and go to the background, because this is where we're going to add our color. So over here, I'm going to choose my color. I'm going to go with this very light color here. I know it's not visible, so I'm going to get rid of that and go with the second one. I want it very, very subtle. You see, even that's a bit too much. But anyway, let's just go with this, okay? Next, I'm going to close this background, and then I'm going to add some rounded corners to this. So I'm going to go to design, and on the border here, I'm going to go with extra small, okay? So I just want it very, very slight. All right, so my design now is complete. I'm just going to duplicate this a few times, maybe even 4 times, okay? The next step now is to add auto grid, because ideally I want this to have a grid that automatically adjusts when things get smaller on my screen. So I'm going to go to layout in fact, I need to go to content. And then under content, no, I'm in the wrong item. Do you see that I'm in the blurb? No, we need to be in the rows. Okay. So in my row here, I'm going to go into my column, and then on the top here, I'm going to go and select auto grid. Okay, so now you see that everything has been automatically added to my grid. And then finally, what I also need to do is to make sure I choose my row settings and then choose my row preset. And for this one here is going to be my content row. Look at that. So now everything's starting to pretty much shape up. So the next thing I'm going to do is for my sections here, I need to add a specific size. So I'm also going to come over here to the top, and we're going to go with medium. And I think medium works great, but if you want to add a bit more breathing space, you can go with section large. Okay. In fact, you know what? I think I'll stick to large. So what you need to do at this stage now is to go in and change these icons and change the content that goes in here. Okay, so change my icons here. So the next step now is just to add a bit of text over here on my description. And I think that works great. All right, so with that now, I need to also add another, section. So I'm going to come over here. And for this, I'm going to have 2 columns. And on the left, I'm going to add an image. And then I'm going to go in here and select my image. And now remember, I had downloaded my image earlier on. So I'm going to go ahead and select it from my media library and upload. So here's my image here. And I'm going to add some text in here. So first of all, I'm going to start off with, text module. I'm going to duplicate this because I'm going to need some text again. And then I'm also going to need a heading. And then here we go. All right. So for this text here, I'm just going to call this my story. But of course, in your case, you can name this whatever you want. But I just want this to be sort of like a case study on this main page. So I'm going to come over here now. Oh, I mentioned this on the wrong thing. Okay. Actually, doesn't matter. I can come over here to the top one, and then I can just say testimonial. Okay, and then this testimonial now is going to have the presets under text, which is called label. So that's how it's going to look like. And then for my story here, I'm going to set this to heading 2. And then I'm going to give this the preset of heading 2. Now, all I have to do is to go back and make sure that my text, it has a capital letter here for my story. Okay. And then finally, over here is where I'm going to add all my text. So I'm going to come over here to Lorem. I'm just going to grab a bunch of text here like that. And we're going to pretend that that is the actual story for one of the students. I'm going to hit enter. And what I also need to do here is to make sure that this has its preset. So I'm going to set this to body text. There we go. All right, so I think I'm almost there. I'm just going to give this the right padding. So I'm going to come over here to the top, and then I'm going to set this to large, just like before. And then I'm going to add a background color to this. So for that, I'm going to go to my content. Remember, I'm under section because that's how I get my settings for my actual background. So now I'm going to click on this plus button, and I'm going to choose a very light gray like that, because I think it works much better for me. Okay, fantastic. So I have my main page here. In fact, why don't we take a look at this in a new tab as a preview? All right, so we have our main landing page here. We have our features, and then we have our story. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So let's say this is our main home page. The next page we need to create is the member page, because we want people to know what they're getting when they become a member. All right, so let's go ahead and create that page. I'm going to come over here and exit from this page. Hopefully I saved everything. All right, so we're going to come over here to membership, okay, and edit with Divi. Right, so for the membership here, I think I'm also going to need like a nice hero page, but this time it's not going to be like all the way. So I'm going to go in to the background here and choose an image. And just like before, I'm going to go with this one. And I'm also going to add some color. And this is going to be black, just like before. And then over here, I'm going to go to image blend, set this to multiply. And now we're back to that dark color we had before. And then I'm just going to go, And then I'm just going to go to the tab here, click on it, and then reduce the opacity. So I'm going to go with 60. There we go. Okay. Next, I'm just going to add all my text in here. And let's go with a heading. I want to select it. And for this heading now, I'm going to go in and let's make it a page or archive title. And let's set this to heading 2. So I'm going to add the HTML H2. close the brackets. And then I'm going to come on the bottom one here and close the brackets like that. All right. So I'm now going to say apply. And then in the design tab, we want to make sure that this is set to heading 2. And then, of course, we need to adjust the color. So we're going to come over here to the bottom and choose our color. I'm going to go with gray 50. And then we just need to sort out the height here. So selecting the main section by clicking here, I'm going to come over here to, in fact, I don't even need to sort out the height. I can just go to spacing and add padding, but it needs to be, okay, extra large is not big enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I have all these sizes over here, I'm going to go with one that's not in my presets. So for padding top, I'm going to go with 4XL. Do you see how that increased the size dramatically? On the bottom, I just need to look for something that works. Instead of 4XL, I'll probably go with XL. Okay, so I think that looks great. Now I'm going to go in, and how many columns do we need? All right, let's go with 2 columns. Okay, so in the first column here, I'm going to add a heading like that. I'm just going to stylize pretty much everything in here. And then, in fact, you know what? Why don't I use a group? Because by using a group, I can just add everything that I need in the group, and then I can just duplicate it easier and, send it over to the other side. So I'm going to go in here and select group. And then the first item in the group is going to be text like that. And then I'm also going to need a heading. And after the heading, I'm going to need the features. And this are going to come in the form of an icon list. And then after the icon list, I can then add my button. Okay. So this will give me my pricing. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go in here and let's name this free, because we want this to be the free membership. And we're going to come over here now to the design. And then under the text, we're going to set this as a label. Okay. And then over here for this, we're going to say free membership. So let's label that, or let's rather put in the text and call this free membership. Actually, you know what? Let's put the price in here. I think that's better. So we're going to make this 0. Okay. But over here on the design, this is set to heading 1. Let's leave it at heading 1. Yeah, that's big enough. I think I'm fine with that. And then over here now, I'm going to go in and start working on this. So for that little icon, I'm going to go back to contents and then icon. So here I need a check. Okay, so this will tell me that we have all these features in this item. So, okay, now that's not the one that I need. Okay, you know what? That check is fine. Okay. In fact, let's go with the full one. Now we need to adjust the size. So I'm going to go to icon here. The color is fine. It's the icon size I need to adjust. So I'm going to go with, let's try small. Okay. I think that's a bit too small. So we're going to go back in and, okay, I think medium works. And then for the text now, is it the body text? I think it's the body text. Let's go ahead and set this to, okay, small didn't work. Let's go to, okay, that didn't work either. So I think it's this one. Actually, it's not. Okay, so body texts. Let's see what's happening here. Let's go in and try and add it manually here. Okay, there we go. It's working. So why isn't it taking my preset here? So let's go back in. So we're going to go with body text large. That's strange. All right, no problem. We can always come over here and let's choose the size from here. Okay, there we go. Did you see that it worked? For some reason, it's not picking up my preset. But anyway, that is fine. So now I just need to label this and say access to all blog posts. Okay, so let's go ahead and name that. So it's under the text. So I'm going to say blog posts. Okay, so that's all I need here that they have access to. And then in the second one here, in fact, let's delete this because I can just duplicate this and then add that minus thing over here and then name what they don't have access to. Okay, so for my free member here, they only have access to the free blog posts. And on the button here, I just need to go in and say join now, like that. And then I'm also going to add my button presets, which is going to be my primary button. In fact, let's go with the secondary button here. Okay, so it has our join now. Pretty much everything is in place. So I'm going to go in now and just align everything correctly. So I'm going to go to this little icon. In fact, I need to go to design, layout, and then set the gap to 0. So everything now does not have space between it, so that now I can go in and add my spacing correctly. So I'm going to start on the bottom here with the button, and then on the spacing here, I'm going to say margin top. Let's try large. Oops, it's margin top for the actual button itself spacing. All right, so let's go to our spacing here. So we're going to say margin top medium. And then for this content block, I'm going to go in and say margin top small. So we're going to go to spacing here, margin top. Let's go all the way down here. Okay, let's try small. Okay, I think small works. And then, of course, for the pricing here, I'm going to go in and do the same. And for my spacing, I'm going to say margin top medium. Okay, fantastic. So I think this looks much better if it was all centered as well. So I'm going to go in and center everything. So I'm going to start off with the top here, go to my text and center it. We're going to do the same with the price. We go to our heading text, center it. We're going to go to this block. And where is my, okay, so we're going to go to sizing. Yes. Okay, I've centered that. Now is the button. I'm going to select it. And then for my button alignment, center. So, okay, everything now is all centered. I just need to give this some breathing space and then stylize it. All right, so with this selected now, I'm going to add my spacing. And this is going to be my padding. So I'm going to go with extra large. And then I'm going to have a background color to this. So to get that, I'm going to go to Contents. And then for my background effects, okay, let me go with a very light color again. So I'm going to click in here and choose this color right here. Okay, so now we have pricing block. Okay, next I'm going to duplicate it and drag it over here to the right. And then all I need to do is to rename everything in here and then change this icon to make sure that I have all my check marks. And then I'm also going to say join now. So for this one here, it may be a good idea to go in and perhaps maybe give it a border or even change the background color altogether and show that it's different from the other ones. So just to make things easier for my design here, I'm going to add a border around this. So I'm going to come over here to design, border, and I'm going to choose my border width. Okay, so it's nice and bold. And then over here on the size, I'm going to choose my preset. I'm going to go with small. And then this color here is a bit too much. So I need to choose a color that works much better. So I'm going to choose let's go with maybe primary 100. Okay, I think that works. So I've chosen a color here. That's from my color palettes. So as you can see, I'm not guessing my colors. So for this one here, it also needs a border radius. And I think we chose small. There we go. All right. So now I've got my border radius. Everything looks great. All I have to do is to add my sizing. So I'm going to select this. And we're going to now to choose large of our section. And then let's save this page. So far, so good. Now we have a membership page. Let's do a quick save again and preview. And look at this page. Right. So this is our membership page. And we can see we have the free one and the VIP. And we can click here. But of course, it's not going anywhere. Because very soon we're going to add the ability to take on payments. Okay? Right, great. So now that we have our membership page, the next page we need to create is the error page. All right, so before we go and create our next page, I just wanted to show you quickly that I was able to just reverse the colors and make this one here really stand out rather than have an outline around it, and therefore attracting people to want to, take on the VIP membership. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead now and save this, and we need to fix now the error page. All right. So in fact, before we do that, you can see here we have this join now, right? Now on the home page, let's do a quick preview here because we want people now to come to this page to become a member. So I'm going to get rid of this text here and just get the URL. Okay. So I've got the URL now. I've just copied that using Command C. I'm going to now come over here to my main page. Oops, I can't see it. All right, let's just go to the home page anyway. Right, so on the home page here, I need to go in and link my Become a Member over here. So I'm going to say Edit with Divi. And then I'm going to go to, why is this saying Lock All? Anyway, I'm going to come over here to this button and then link the button to the membership page, which is right here. Okay. So now that I've done that, I'm going to save and then let's do a quick preview. So now when people land on this page, if they click on Become a Member, it now takes them to the membership page. Okay, great. So the next step now is to have a basic dashboard which shows people where to go. So let's go ahead and design that. So I want to come over here to my dashboard and then click on Edit with Divi. So first things first, I'm going to add a single column. We're going to add a text module and also our heading. So I'm going to click here, go to heading, and then for the heading text, I'm going to call this My Dashboard. Okay, and for this text here, I may just say welcome. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here to design text, and then I'm going to make it a label. And then below here is where I can add my columns of text. So I'm going to use the blurb for this. So here I am going to say premium content because I want to direct people to the premium content. Okay. Now I'm also going to create a page called premium content. So when it comes to the image here, in fact, I could go with an image. That could work as well. I'm going to come over here to icon and image. I think I have a few icons here. A few images that I can use. Okay, I'm going to go with this one and then upload an image. Okay, so this is going to be my premium content. And what I'm also going to do is to give this a padding. So I'm going to come over here, go to my spacing and add padding. Let's go with medium. Okay, medium padding. And then on the border here, I'm going to set this to radius small because I think that's what I've been using all along. And then finally, what I'm going to do is to add a background on hover. So I'm going to click here on this icon because normally when I'm designing it's on the desktop. So I need to go to hover. Okay. So now I can go to my module settings and then add the background. So I'm going to click here and then choose a very light color. So I may go with this. Yeah, I think that works. Or if I want to perhaps take a very light color of my secondary, I can just do that as well. Either works. So I'm going to go ahead now and get out of the hover mode. Okay. And then hit save. The next thing I'm going to do is to duplicate this twice. Okay. So this one here is premium content. And then this one here. Okay. Let's add free content here. Okay. I'm going to say free content. So we need to make a distinction here between free and premium. Okay. Excellent. So now that I have these two, I'm going to select my row, go over here to elements, and then in the column here is where I need to go in and add my auto grid. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So now these two are side to side. Let's save this page and take a quick look and see what it looks like. So I'm going to do a preview. And when I hover, notice what happens. Okay. So it clearly shows this on hover, which is fantastic. So if there's anything that I need to add, I can always add another one of these blurbs like that. And perhaps maybe this could be my downloads. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and say downloads. So I'm going to go in here and say downloads. Okay. So now I have my free content, downloads, and premium content. So I just want to change my images here. So I'm going to go into my image, and then for the downloads, I'm going to use this one. I don't like the size though. This is so annoying. Let me see. Okay, what I may do is I may choose a different image for the downloads. So I'm going to go in here and select this image here. But you know what? For the downloads, I'm going to add a totally different image, okay, for the downloads, so that I distinguish my icons here or my images at a later stage. Okay, so finally, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure that my section spacing here or my section padding is set to large. And that is my dashboard. So this is the page when people log in, they'll be redirected to this page, which removes any confusion and, basically no one, will be lost looking for their way around, which is fantastic. All right, so let's save this. Now we need to work on our error page. So for the error page, we need this link for the membership because that's where I'm going to redirect them to when they get lost. So I'm going to copy this, okay? And then I'm going to, in fact, I've got too many tabs open. Let's just get rid of all these tabs. Right, so what we need is the error page. I'm going to come to my downloads, go to my pages, and then say all pages. So the page I need is the error page. I'm going to say edit with Divi, okay? And then the first thing I need to do is to add a single column. And in this column here, we're going to add a group. And then for this group here, I'm going to add from library. So I'm going to come over here. Okay, I think I did it wrong. So what I need to do after adding my row, I need to click on this plus button and then say add from library. Now you can see we have our warning module. I'm going to go ahead and select it and then click on use this module. Okay, so this now it becomes my warning module. So let me go back in here to my row settings and then I'm going to make sure I choose the right size. So I want to go with wide text row. I think that size is much, much better. And then below this, I'm going to add a bunch of text. So I'm going to go with an equal column again and then add a text module. Okay. And then after this text module, I'm going to add a button that says become a member. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and say become a member like that. Right, so far so good. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to choose my button. So it's going to be the primary button here. And then over here on the design, I'm going to go to alignment and center it. Did I go in and add the link? Let me just double check. Link. Okay, I haven't added the link. So become a member should take us to the membership page, which is this one. Okay, I want to copy the URL like that. Come back and paste it. So eventually everything is going to get all linked up and it's going to be great. So instead of typing, long text, I'm just going to grab some dummy text here and go to my error page and add it in here. So in the text mode, I'm going to go in and paste my text. And then I'm going to come over here to the design tab and set this to my body text. Next, I'm going to make sure that this is easily readable. So I'm going to come over here to my row and set this to wide text row. Okay, great. So on the warning here, I can go in and say warning or error or whatever it is that I need to add in here. So I'm going to say error rather. I think that's a better way of addressing it. So I'm going to say error. And then I'm going to say the page you're trying to, or the content you're trying to access is for members only. And then the paragraph will describe what they need to do. And then the button is the call to action. How about that? Okay, so now that this error page is done, what am I trying to say? The content you're trying to access is, I don't know why I have iOS here. That's a bit crazy. Okay, it's for members only. All right, so I'm going to save this. Now, I don't want this page to have a header and a footer. So I'm going to now come over here, go to Divi, and then go to the theme builder. Okay. So in the theme builder here, I'm going to set a new template, which does not have a header and footer. And I'm going to assign a specific page. In this case, it's going to be the error page to it. Okay. So I'm going to save that and then remove the header and the footer to the page. I'm going to hit Save Changes. And now when I come to this page and I save and preview, you can see now it doesn't have a header and a footer. So pretty much it's just an error page when someone tries to access content that they don't have access to. So now when I say become a member, it takes me to the membership, and then that is where they can go ahead and purchase. Perfect, isn't it? Okay, brilliant. All right, so we've got our dashboard. It's all, designed. We have our downloads. We have our premium content. We just need now to add the tags to the actual places that we need. Okay, we also have our login. Now, this won't work because I'm already logged in, which is brilliant. So let me just clean up this. I don't like using WordPress dashboard where it is so congested like that. Okay, so we've cleaned everything up. Everything is looking great. All right, so let's create a page which I am going to go in and lock based on the tag. This is going to be very exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that, okay, let's go to our dashboard again. Let's just go to visit site dashboard. Okay, so I know we have premium content here. Okay, so all the premium contents, we can even have links to it here. But what we're going to do is to create one page which has the premium content. And then we are going to make sure that no one has access to it except if they have the tag. Okay. All right. So we're going to come over here and let's go back to WordPress. So I'm going to come over here to pages and then click add. So I'm going to call this premium one. Premium one. Okay. Well, let's just do it one like that. Okay. Right. So before we go into the Divi Builder, we need to take a look at all the information over here on the right. So here you notice that we have WP Fusion, and this is where the power of WP Fusion comes in. We're going to go ahead and activate this, and then we're going to say users must be logged in to view this page. That's exactly what we want. We want users to be logged in. So the question now is, which type of users? Well, remember we created those tags. We have member and VIP membership. So we want VIP to be able to access this page. Okay. So required tags, no. We're not going to do any of that. Okay. And then I'm just going to say refresh tags if access is denied. Sometimes everything is in the cache. Okay. So I've selected that and then I'm going to publish. So this page, essentially by adding that tag, is now a premium page. So I'm going to go in. Now let's add a single column. And in this column, we're going to add the heading. And then after the heading, we're going to add a video like that. Now for the video to look really nice, we're going to add an overlay image. So I'm going to come over here, click on this plus button, and we're going to add an overlay image. And let's just go with this one here. Okay. Or in fact, let's go with this one. Upload image. So now I have my overlay video. Okay. Next, I'm going to click on this plus button. We're going to add an equal column. And in here, we're going to have just normal text. All right. So this text, we're just going to grab our lorem text here, long paragraphs. And then we're just going to grab a bunch of text and then paste it in here like that. Okay. So now we have a lot of text, but remember, we need to make sure that this is styled correctly. So I'm going to go to my text here and set it to text, body text. In fact, I don't know why it's imported here. Let me just go ahead and fix that. Let's remove this word imported. Okay, so it just needs to be body text. Now I'm going to say save preset. Okay, great. The next thing I'm going to do is to make sure that this is a readable width. So I'm going to select my row, come over here to the top, and then select text row. Okay, so now it's easier to read. And if this is a bit too thin, you can just go with a wide text row. Okay, so that works perfect too. Over here on the top, I'm going to go in and just make sure that this is set to, let's set this as a, what do you call it? Anyway, the word will come when I choose it. Let's go to design heading text. Okay, let's add our preset. There we go. All right, so I can give this a title. So let's just go to Lorem and let's pretend that this is the what? The title. Okay. Oops. See what happens when you have too many tabs open? Just get rid of them now. Okay, there we go. I'm going to paste, save that. And then I'm going to come over here now and just make sure that this is set to large. Great. I'm going to save that and do a preview. Okay, great. So now this is premium content. I can go in, watch the video here, read all this information. And this, of course, is going to be life-changing information. Great. But the question is this page accessible to everyone? We need to test that. But first of all, I can see here that this hasn't worked. Why? Let's go in and fix that. It still says, anyway, I think it's the caching. Let's leave that alone. All right. So I have this page now. The question is, can I access this page if I'm not a member? So we're going to get rid of this. Okay. So we're going to copy this URL and then we're going to open this in incognito mode by coming over here, new incognito mode, and hit enter. Bang. There we go. So it works. Tag based. So we don't have access to this page unless I become a member. So now I have to go and say, boom, become a member, make a payment, join now, and then I'm now a member. Okay. So the question now is, how do we make people become members? They obviously need to pay, right? Absolutely. This is where now we get to set up our membership. So I'm going to exit from here. Now let's go to plugins. So I'm going to go in and add a plugin. The plugin I'm going to add is called Fluent Cart. So this is kind of like, if you know about WooCommerce, WooCommerce is our online, it's our plugin that allows us to sell our products and services online. But Fluent Cart is much, much better because you can actually do recurring subscriptions absolutely free. Okay, so we're going to install this and set it up really fast. I'm going to activate it and then I am going to go to Fluent Cart here, click on dashboard, and you can see here that it needs us to go through the onboarding. So I'm going to say continue. Oops. Store country. Okay, so we're going to say USA. Is it there? Nope. United States. Oh, I can just go United Kingdom. How about that? So this is Mac membership. I'm going to use United States dollar. Click on continue. So it's going to generate all my pages for me. So I'm going to go in and generate all. Okay, so now I have all my customer profile, blah, blah, blah. All those pages are there now. I'm going to hit continue. And then I'm going to start from scratch, hit save. And now I have my store. I mean, just in a few steps, I was able to, set up my store. I'm just going to come over here because I prefer light mode. Okay. Right, so now that I've set up all that, the next step now is to come over here to products and set up my first product. So I'm going to click on add product, and this is going to be Mac membership. Okay, so this is a digital product. I'm going to click on add. So for the description here, I'm going to come over here to Lorem, grab a bunch of text and set it up as a short description. Okay, and then I have my long description here as well. The pricing is $97. Okay, now all I need to do is to come over here. Let's just add an image to our product. I want to say use this media, and we're going to change this from draft to publish and then update. Okay, the next step now is to make sure that you have your payment gateways all set up. So I'm going to now come over here to my settings. So for your payment gateways, you'd come over here to payment settings. And if you want to activate PayPal, you can just come over here, test credentials, save settings. Excellent. So we're going to set our payment activation here. Okay. And let's say you also use Stripe. You can go in, activate it, and then we're going to use our test credentials, save. Okay. So now we're assuming that we have our payment systems, everything is all set up. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this product. So we're going to come over here to products. So here it is, Mac membership. I'm going to click on it to view it. And you can see now that it is right there and it says $97. We can add to cart. It also has the description here and so on. Okay, so right now we notice that we have this issue where we don't have a page for this, or rather a template for it. So we need to create that. So I'm going to come over here and go to the theme builder. Oh, in fact, okay, here's the theme builder, right? So before we create the template, actually, I need to, let's see if I can create it, okay? I'm going to say build new, and let's see if I have products. So do you notice that we have all products here? So I can go in and select it, save, and now I can go into my custom body and say build custom body, right? So in here, I can now go in and add, let's say, my featured image for my background. So I'm going to come over here to background, and then I'm going to go to background image, and then, oops, I need to add a featured image here. In fact, you know what? Let's just have a plain page with our title. Okay, so I'm going to add my text module here, and this text module actually needs to be a heading. Oops. Anyway, let's set it as a text. Doesn't matter. So with this text now, I'm going to come over here to my dynamic, and then I'm going to say post or archive title, and then I'm just going to say apply. Okay. And then over here now on the text size, I'm going to go in and choose my text. But right now, you see my sizes, they're all like pretty much small. So I'm going to go in and choose a custom one, which is going to be my text extra large. Okay. I can even go text 2XL. Okay. So with that now, I'm going to change this from regular to semi-bold. All right, so I'm going to hit save. And then the next part here is where I get to add my product. So I'm going to go in and say, this needs to be post content. Okay. And then let's save and see what happens now. I'm going to exit and save. So what I've just done here is to create a template for all my products that I'm going to add in Fluent Cart. So let's refresh and see if this has worked. There we go. Excellent. So now everything looks much, much better. I have my content here, and I also have my title for my product. I may need to go in and make it even bigger, but you know what? I'm happy with what it looks like so far. So what I'm going to do now is to copy this URL, because this is how people now are going to be able to go in and buy it. So I copy the URL, and then I'm going to go to a page on my site, which is the Become a Member, right? So on this membership page, this is where it gives us what we get as a member. But this is the button now that makes us purchase the product. So I'm going to go in and edit this page. Oops, what happened here? Okay, here we go. Just need to refresh my page. So I'm going to come over here to this button here and then link this button to the actual page where members can go in and pay. So now I'm going to save. Okay. So with that saved now, okay, so all I needed to do was to refresh this page. All right. So now that I've linked this button, because what I needed to do was to link this button here. Oops. So I need to refresh this. That's what I need to do. Okay, there we go. So now that I've linked the button to the product, I can click on join now. Okay. And now it's telling me about the Mac membership. And here we are. It's telling me that whatever it is, and then the pricing. So now I can say buy now. And here we are. There's two options. I've got a credit card option here, and I also have a PayPal option. So this page, this checkout page also needs to be sorted. So I need to go back and make sure that these pages are all set up correctly. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Divi Theme Builder, and I'm going to add more pages to this by clicking on this gear icon. And then I'm just going to say, okay, specific pages. Okay, there we go. So it's going to be on the checkout page, the cart page, the receipt, the shop, the accounts. Which one out? Which one? Okay, I think that's it. So now I'm going to hit save. All right, so we're in our dashboard here. And so far, when someone logs in, they get to this page and they can go to the free content, the downloads, or the premium content. But we also want to improve how people navigate the website, because here we probably need some sort of a page or navigation that shows all your members where the information is. For example, if they wanted to take a look at their account or what they purchased and where to download things and so on, we need to make it very easy to access. And right now we have FluentCart working as our payment gateway. So let's add those links. So I'm going to come over here and then go to our appearance and then menus, because we need to add this to the menu. So we can see here we have the checkout page here, the cart page, receipt page, and so on. These are the pages that we need to add over here to the right. So first of all, I'm going to create a custom link, because this is what we need to do to make this work. So we are going to add a blank URL. So I'm going to go ahead and add that #. And then for the text, I'm just going to say, maybe we could call it account, or we could call it user. So at least the user knows that there is more information under that. So let's just call this user. But of course, you can choose whatever you want in this case. So I'm going to say add to menu. So now we have this. It doesn't link anywhere because it's a custom link. Okay. So I'm just going to drag it here. So it's just before the login. All right. So with that now, I'm now going to go to the pages, and I'm going to select the pages that I need to add to the menu. So first of all, let's add the receipt and the account profile. I think those two are fine, because the checkout and the cart and the shop are not necessary right now because our website is not showcasing all the products. But if you wanted to add this to the menu, then that's fine. You can add this page as well. All right, so I'm going to add this to the menu. Okay, so now you're going to notice that we have these pages that have been added. So under user, I'm going to add the account, because I want it to be very easy for our members to find the account and also the receipt, just in case they want to download the receipt at some point. All right, now the shop, we're going to leave the shop there. But again, this is something that is really up to you if you want to have that. Okay, with that now, I'm going to say save. All right, so let's take a look at our website now, and I'm going to open this in a new tab. Right, so now we have user, and now we have account and receipt. So if we come over here and go to account, you can see now purchase history. This is where my purchase history would be. If I have my downloads, I would have my downloads here. And you know what? This particular link is very important, because I'm going to copy this link, and I'll show you in a moment why it's important. Next, we have the profile, and this is where you can go in and add your first name, last name. If you want to make any changes, you could do it there. So this is what the user has. Now, there's also a receipt, and there's no receipt right now because I haven't purchased anything. But this is where the receipt will be, and you can actually download it from here. All right, so remember, I just copied the download link. So we're going to come over here now and add that link to this download. So when you purchase and there's a download, this is going to take you to that downloads page that I created a moment ago. So now I'm going to go into this module right here, and then I'm going to link this module by coming over here to module link URL. It's very important we come over here. And then once I've done that, I'm going to hit save. Excellent. So now this is now linked to my page where I can download whatever it is that I've purchased, which is brilliant. I'm now going to say save. So when I look at my header and footer here, you can see we just have the generic one that comes with Divi. But of course, we want to have our own design that looks much better than what we have right now. So I have a header and footer template, which is absolutely free. I'll leave that link in the video description below. So to unzip the file, I'm just going to double click here, and this is going to unzip my header and footer. And you can see now we have a .json file. Right, so that's the file we're going to use to install this. So the next step now is to head over to my Divi library. Okay, and then I'm going to go into import and export. And then we need to go to the import tab. And then I'm going to say choose file. Here's the .json file that I need. Double click on that. And then do I need presets? Nah, not really. I'm going to import this. And now it has been imported. Now, the reason why I didn't import the presets is because I already have a preset, which is Crafter, and that's what I'm going to use throughout. All right, so now you can see I have my SK footer dark, and then I also have my notice bar, and then I have my header, which is light. Excellent. Now I can go into, I can now go into my theme builder and add my header. So I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to say add from library. Your saved layouts. All right, so the next step now is to add our header. So I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to say build global header. Next, I'm now going to import this header by coming over here, click on this plus button, and I'm going to say add from library. Now we can see our header light that's here. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to add this. Okay, so there we go. Now I have my header. So the top one here, I'm just going to go in and delete that because definitely I don't need that. So what I'm going to do now, you see that we have this login here. This will be nicer if I had this button here as the login. So it's very prominent and, you can really see exactly where it is. So I'm going to come over here and then I'm going to say login. Okay. And then for this login URL, and I know, let me just open up a new tab here because I know the URL is going to be wp-admin. Then I'm going to copy this like that. And then I am going to add that link over here for my button link. Excellent. So now I have my button link to that. And then all I have to do is to remove this login from the menu. I want to go ahead and hit save. And that's my header. Okay. I'm going to hit exit. The next thing I'm going to do is to add my footer. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, build global footer. And I am going to, just like what I did before, click on this plus button, add from library, and this time it's my SK footer doc. Select that. Go ahead and add that. Okay. So I also have the opt-in here, which is very, very important because remember, we have the free membership that we created earlier on. So we are going to use this as part of our setup. So I'm going to save this for now. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to select my module and then connect everything now. Right, so I'm going to come over here to email account, right? So on my email account, I'll choose my provider, which is Fluent CRM. There we go. And then it's going to ask me for lists. So I'm going to say add. The account name, I'm just going to say Mac and submit. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and choose the tag. And the tag I'm going to choose, now remember, we created two tags. One of them was just the member, and then there's a VIP member. So we're going to tag member. So anyone who signs up here is going to get a tag called member. So now I'm going to say add, and pretty much we're done. Excellent. Over here on the bottom, this is where you can link up all your links on your website to whatever you want. And it's very, very easy to go in and link anything. So I'm going to go in here. And you can see it says the team. You can go in here, click on the URL, and then you can add your URL in here to whatever page it is that you want to link up to. All right, so that's it with our footer. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, now let's take a look at our page, or at least rather at my website and see what it looks like. I'm going to exit from here, save all changes, and then I want to open this in a new tab. Okay, now you can see we have a new a new header. If I scroll, it sticks to the top, which is fantastic. And I go all the way down here. We have our opt-in and pretty much everything is really, really cool. So if I come over here now and add my name and email, I will be added onto the system. So I want to say Malone. And then for the email, I'm going to say malone00@gmail.com. I want to hit subscribe, and then it tells me that it is successful. But the question is, how do you prove that everything has worked? Well, no problem. I'm going to now come over here to the site's dashboard, and we're going to go to Fluent CRM, to the dashboard, and we now notice that we have one user. Okay, so this user now, we want to see who it is. So I'm going to go to all contacts, and sure enough, we have Malone. And Malone's tag is member. but it's not VIP member, which means when I try to access VIP content, I will not be able to access it. But I mean, you've just noticed that, everything now is seamless. Everything is now working, which is brilliant. All right. So with our WP Fusion plugin, we can protect all sorts of things. So let's say you have blog posts. I'm going to come over here to categories, for example, right? So with these categories, you can name your categories here, whatever you want. So let's call this VIP. And my slug here is going to be VIP as well. I'm going to say add to category. And then I'm also going to create a members category. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on the slug members. Okay. And then add to category. Okay. So with my categories now, if I were to go to VIP, right, and click on edit, I can literally add a tag to specific people who can see anything that I tag into or anything that I add to the VIP, for example. So here I'm going to say users must be logged in to access the archives. Yes, because they have to log in first, right? But you can also say users must be logged in to access all posts. Okay, so that's also an option, but this has to be activated first. Then I'm going to click on that as well, hide term. The taxonomy will be completely hidden from all term listings. I'm just going to leave that as it is. But the required tags now are here. So this is where I want this to be only viewed by VIP. And this is fantastic because WP Fusion is giving us these extras for us to see exactly where things are. So I've got my VIP membership. They are only going to be allowed to see this category. And then I'm going to, okay, our restricted content. We already have that page that we have. I think it's called error. And there you go. That's the error page. Okay. And then I'm going to say update. All right. So that's our VIP. I'm going to go back. And this time I'm going to go to the members. Okay. So I'm going to do an edit just like how I did before. And then users must be logged in. Yes. And then the tags for this is going to be just a member. Okay. And the redirect is not necessary because this is the free content. And then I'm going to say update. Okay. Now, the other thing as well is, and I need to go back and update this. So I also want that when people go to when the VIP members also should have access to the members content. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I forgot to add that. So I'm going to go in and add member as well. So members and VIP members can access anything in that category. So when I create my posts, so I know I have a default post here. If I go on edit, right, and I expand this, now if I go all the way down, all I have to choose is to make sure that this one here is assigned a category. So I'm going to come over here. So right now it's uncategorized. Okay, we don't want to do that. What we need is, let's say hello world is for VIP members. I'm just going to say VIP and save. Okay, so automatically anything that I post in this category is going to be for VIP only. In fact, we don't even need to activate this because everything is done in the previous setting. So I'm going to hit save and pretty much we are good to go. So as you can see, this is a really powerful way of setting up your website. And if you want to create these membership websites, you are going to have a lot of flexibility with WP Fusion because everything is going to be tag based. And this connects with WooCommerce. It connects with pretty much so many plugins out there. So it is so flexible that it is very, very exciting to use. Anyway, we've come to the end of our tutorial and I'd like to thank you so much for watching this. This is a tutorial which you need to go back and watch because I've covered quite a lot of things here, including how to use Krafter throughout the design process and also how to set up your systems. If you have any questions, please ask those questions in the video description below or in the comments box below, and I'll do my best to respond to that. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.